I was a quiet kid, often lost in a world of vibrant colors on canvas and the rich melodies that spilled from the strings of my guitar. Life was simple, a predictable rhythm, a song that played on repeat. At school, I was just another face in the crowd, a whisper in the cacophony of voices. Home was my sanctuary, where I retreated to the solitude of my room, letting my fingers dance on the canvas or strum the chords of unspoken feelings. Then, subtly, like the first spots of rust on a shiny car, the cracks began to appear in my seemingly perfect world. It started with hushed voices behind closed doors, the clatter of dishes a little louder, the silences at the dinner table a little longer. My parents, who had been the rock on which my world was built, were slowly crumbling, and with them, my world too. One day, in the sterile silence of the living room, they announced their divorce, their words hanging in the air like a death sentence. In the eye of this storm, I found refuge in the company of Eddie and Max, my friends. They were misfits like me, caught in their own tempests, seeking an escape. Eddie, with his piercing blue eyes and devil-may-care attitude, was the first to introduce me to it. A little pill, a temporary escape from the brutal reality. The first time I tried it, it felt like stepping into another world, one where everything was blurred and distant, as if seen through a foggy window. The relentless pain of my parents' divorce seemed to dissolve, replaced by a numb tranquility. But the cruel truth I would soon discover was that the respite was ephemeral, and when it wore off, the reality hit harder. As days turned into weeks, the pill became my constant companion, my ticket to the foggy world where pain was a foreign concept. I watched as my grades plummeted, my art, once vibrant and full of life, became a mirror of my chaos, and the friends who once found solace in my company slowly drifted away, replaced by new ones who shared my dark secret. My relationship with my parents, already strained, snapped like a worn-out rubber band. I was no longer their son but a stranger, lost in the depths of my addiction. I spiraled further into the abyss, my life a tragic symphony that was hurtling towards its finale. Little did I know, my darkest hour was yet to come, and it would come one fateful night, under the neon lights of a drug-fueled party, where the fine line between escape and destruction would blur forever. Life, once a predictable melody, now played out like a discordant symphony. The days bled into each other in a haze of artificial highs and crushing lows. The school, once a place of learning and routine, turned into a labyrinth I couldn't navigate. My grades, once a source of pride, slid down a steep hill with no brakes to stop the fall. My art too, once a kaleidoscope of colors and emotions, became a grotesque reflection of my inner turmoil. Canvases lay around my room, half-finished, their figures distorted and colors muted. My guitar lay untouched, gathering dust in a corner. My friends from before, those who had shared laughter and dreams with me, began to recede into the background. Their attempts to reach out, to pull me back from the precipice, fell on deaf ears. Instead, new faces crowded my world, shadows that flitted in and out of my life, sharing my secret escapades under the cloak of night. Home, once my sanctuary, became a battlefield. My parents, already wrestling with their own demons, looked at me as if I were a stranger. Their words of concern, their pleas for me to seek help, seemed like distant echoes from another life. In the throes of my addiction, their voices lost their resonance. One day, in the midst of an argument, my father's voice rose above the cacophony. "Jake, you're throwing your life away." His words should have struck a chord, but all I felt was a cold indifference. I was sinking into the abyss, and I didn't want to be saved. The final straw came on a night drenched in neon lights and deafening music, a party at Eddie's place. I remember the pulsating lights, the throb of bass in my ears, and the pill, my constant companion. That night, I took one pill too many, teetering on the edge of reality and oblivion. As the world tilted dangerously, a familiar face from the crowd swam into my vision. It was Max, his face pale, his eyes wide with fear. He was yelling something, his voice a distant echo. The last thing I remember was the cold floor against my cheek, the taste of fear on my tongue, and the blinding lights of the ambulance. My fall into the abyss was complete, and it ended in a sterile white room, the smell of antiseptics a harsh reminder of my reality. The nurses moved around, their faces masks of professionalism, their voices a soothing hum. But their eyes, they told a different story, a story of pity, of sadness, of another life lost to the cruel clutches of addiction. I was in rehab, my last shot at redemption. The world of the rehab center was a stark contrast to the neon-lit nights and pill-induced hazes. The rooms were sterile, the walls a blinding white, and the silence was heavy, punctuated only by the whispers of nurses and the soft hum of machinery. In this alien world, I met Sarah. She had a calming presence, her eyes reflecting a depth of understanding that immediately set her apart. As my counselor, it was her job to guide me through the labyrinth of recovery, but it felt like more than just a job for her. She had a way of making you feel seen, heard, in a way that was both comforting and unsettling. Our first meeting was in a small room with 2 chairs and a table. "Jake," she began, her voice soft, "you are not alone in this. Remember that." Her words hung in the air, the sincerity in her tone disarming. Recovery was a battlefield, with each day presenting a new challenge. My body waged war against itself, the withdrawal symptoms a constant reminder of the choices I had made. Nights were the worst, the silence amplifying my inner turmoil. But even in those darkest hours, Sarah's words echoed in my mind, a beacon guiding me through. She encouraged me to return to my art, to use it as a means of expressing my struggles. I remember the first time I picked up a paintbrush in weeks, the bristles rough against my fingers, the colors a stark contrast to the sterile white around me. It felt foreign yet familiar, like returning home after a long journey. Sarah was there every step of the way, her faith in me unwavering. She was the steady rock amidst the raging storm of my recovery. "This is a fight, Jake," she would say, "but it's a fight you don't have to face alone." She introduced me to group therapy, where I met others like me, each with their own stories of struggle and hope. It was strange, seeing my own pain reflected in their eyes, yet there was a comfort in knowing I wasn't alone in this battle. Under Sarah's guidance, I slowly began to reclaim pieces of myself that I thought were lost forever. My art started to reflect not just my pain, but also my hope, my determination. My guitar, once a forgotten relic, found its voice again, its chords echoing my journey. Sarah, with her unwavering belief and gentle guidance, gave me a glimmer of hope in the darkest of times. In the sterile world of the rehab center, she became my beacon, her faith in me stronger than my own. Emerging from the claustrophobic confines of the rehab center into the world was like stepping onto a tightrope, a precarious balance between my past and my future. The world outside hadn't changed much, but I was not the same person anymore. My first step towards redemption was my parents. The house, once a symbol of familial warmth, now seemed like a monument to past mistakes. Their faces, lined with worry, softened as I stepped in. The living room was filled with an uncomfortable silence, the elephant in the room too big to ignore. "Mom, Dad," I began, my voice wavering, "I'm sorry." Just 3 words, but they carried the weight of my guilt, my remorse. They looked at me, their eyes brimming with a mix of relief and lingering worry. Their response was a nod, a tight-lipped smile, the unspoken words hanging in the air, "We hope you really are, Jake." Reconnecting with my old friends was a different kind of challenge. Their wary gazes and hesitant greetings reminded me of the bridge I had burned down. But they listened, their expressions softening as I shared my journey. It was not easy, neither for them to accept me nor for me to face them, but it was a step forward. My return to school was met with mixed reactions. While some gossiped in hushed tones, others offered tentative smiles. My grades, once a source of embarrassment, began to improve, a testament to the newfound focus Sarah had helped me find. Art, once my refuge and then my reflection, became my savior. I embraced it with newfound fervor, each stroke of the brush, each strum of the guitar strings echoing my journey from despair to hope. My work was raw, emotional, capturing the essence of my struggle, my determination, and my recovery. It was during one of these artistic sojourns that Mr. Roberts, my art teacher, stumbled upon my work. His initial surprise gave way to admiration. "Jake," he said, his voice tinged with emotion, "your art, it's powerful." His words were a validation, an acknowledgement that my story mattered. The path to redemption was riddled with guilt, self-doubt, and countless apologies. But with each step, I found a piece of myself that I thought was lost forever. I was not just a recovering addict anymore. I was Jake, a survivor, an artist, a beacon of hope. Life, once an erratic symphony, had gradually found its rhythm again. The world, which I once sought to escape, was now a canvas of possibilities, a song waiting to be composed. My art, which had served as my voice during my darkest days, was now a beacon of hope and resilience. My work found a home in the local gallery, thanks to Mr. Robertson, a kind-hearted gallery owner who had been moved by my story. The day of the exhibition, I stood in the midst of a sea of faces, their expressions reflecting the emotions that my art had captured. "Your work, Jake," Mr. Robertson said, his voice choked with emotion, "it's a testament to your journey, a story that needs to be told." My story also found its way to the rehab center, where I had spent the most challenging days of my life. Sarah and I worked together to develop art therapy sessions, using my experience to help others battling their own demons. I believe in the power of art, just like Sarah believed in me. I would say to them, my words a mirror to my journey. It was rewarding to see their progress, their small victories, their budding hope. Rebuilding my relationships was a journey of its own. My parents and I, once estranged, had found a new bond, one that was stronger and more authentic. My old friends and I, once apart, were now closer, our bond tempered by the fires of my past. Amidst all this, I found the power of forgiveness. I forgave my parents for their mistakes, my friends for their hesitation, and most importantly, I forgave myself. I realized that we all are human, and we all make mistakes. It was not the fall that defined us, but our courage to rise again. The world now knew me not just as Jake, the quiet kid, or the troubled teen, but as Jake, the survivor, the artist, the beacon of hope. I had traversed the darkest tunnels and emerged into the light. I was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, a symphony of hope and love. I was ready to paint my life with the vibrant colors of resilience, ready to compose my song of redemption.